Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. To some of the folks from the yesterday daily show that we were going to talk about Google, I had to drop that after reading a few other things today and talking about the what's going to be on the front page of the Daily Kos that I'm putting out this week. So we'll talk about that on the Likely Friday Daily Show and do that then. But folks, these are some serious times. But anyhow, before we get started, how is the number one program director of KPFT doing today, my dear brother?
Real question is, who's the number two program director?
Say it again.
Who's the number one program director of KPFT?
I mean, I'm trying to build you up, Don.
Just say number one program director, I guess.
Well, do you want me to say the number one program director in the entire country, or what is it that you want from me?
I'm not that good.
You're not that good?
No, I am doing good, to answer your question.
Yes.
Do I need more?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing great. I have a lot of, what do they call it? Spoons in a pot? I don't know.
What?
I don't know. It's a colloquialism.
What kind of a nerd are you?
Nerd.
Hey, I had to use it. People call me nerd sometimes, so I wanted to go ahead and say, I get a chance to call somebody a nerd. What can I say?
Well, congratulations. You called me a nerd. And now let's see if you'll be on next week. All right.
You're going to go there, huh? You see how they are now. But anyhow, we're going to have a great show. I'm trying to pull up what's supposed to be the blog of the week, but because so I'm buying time. If you notice, I'm talking, trying to find things. I'm saying, hey, Don, help me out here. I'm buying some time trying to find the show because you were in this office for too long discussing too much, and in so doing, I didn't get to the blog of the week to prepare it to come into fruition. But guess what?
You got it.
I got it.
Perfect.
I got it perfectly so, and it's loaded. Okay. Look, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today because you know what? The only folks that matter in here are you guys. This is your show. You run it. In fact, you have the ability to change its direction because, again, like I tell everybody, the difference between our kind of station and the rest is this is bidirectional. This is cooperative. You name it, you are part of it. Anyhow, title of the program today, Democrats have got to remember that it is still the economy stupid. And why am I doing this? I had to change the program because I'm going to tell you, progressives, Democrats, I am scared to death. I am actually scared to death. I've been beating these drums for a very long time, since before the middle of last year. I have been getting sliced up at Daily Kos. Don, every time I write an article that said, let's stop coasting to victory and let's start actually fighting for victory, the knives came out. I was called every single name from progressives at the Daily Kos. Finally, today somebody came out and said, oh my God, you guys should have listened, because the truth of the matter is the generic polls are tied.
That sounds about right.
The generic polls are tied. Anyhow, so the title of the program, Democrats have got to remember that it's still the economy stupid. The second title, meaning subtitle, the generic poll is now even and Democrats are still silent for all practical purposes with their plan. The Democratic crater has begun. Democrats are supposed to be the grassroots people, yet I fail to see them working on any other than old-style party activities. Let me stop there. I'm talking about rank and file. I see the the resistance, however, very strong, but we need a lot more than the resistance. I see Swing Left, I see Indivisible, I see PSR, I see all these guys working their behinds off. But we need a whole lot more. We need a message. We need a coherent message, and we need to tell people what they're going to get. While Republicans are happy to see Stormy Daniels and Russia in the news, Democrats should not. It means they're getting all the oxygen out. That's why they like it. All the oxygen is gone. Trump is Teflon to his base, and gerrymandering means he still can hold the House. You know, the conventional wisdom is, wait a minute, the Senate we may not win, but the House is a definite. Nancy Pelosi's measuring her curtains. Nancy Pelosi's out there telling people, yes, I'm going to be Speaker. Yet another lightning rod. Even if she's going to be Speaker, why are you going to say that if you know that every word that you say becomes a commercial, becomes an ad? You don't do anything. It may be so, but you don't give them you don't make it come out of your own mouth that's going to happen, so that you can make these people get so crazy mad that they're going to come out and start saying, oh, and by the way, folks, Democrats, look at how you performed in these not the primaries, but the runoffs. Pretty bad. Where is the excitement that everybody was talking about? Where is all of that gone? Or where has all of that gone? Hey, folks, you have to fight your own battle, but the party has to give folks a reason to say, you know what, I'm going to spend that time to go out there and vote. Because if nobody know, where is your blue wave? I have no idea where it's at now. I was talking about your blue, I wrote an article for the Daily Kos says your blue wave is going to become a ripple. I am going to start changing that away. No blue wave. Hell, you may see Republicans pick up. Look, MSNBC, the supposedly liberal station, is all in the all things poor and middle class Americans have little time to worry about. Okay? They're supposed to be the people that are looking out for the poor in the middle. I've been pointing this out at the Daily Kos for the last several months and have been summarily slaughtered for bucking the prevailing will. But finally, today a Daily Kos blogger admonished the community, acknowledging the merits to my fears months ago. And I have to admit, for a change, that felt good. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all of our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 2 p.m.
And of course, we have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
Así tenemos también Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its best, hosted by
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at noon.
Okay, and I'm going to name your two shows. The Human Condition at 3 p.m. followed by the Free Minstrel Show with Don and Dwayne at 4 p.m. on Fridays on the KPFT HD2 side. Now, you have a Thursday program. Help me out here. I'm going to get it listed in here next, but tell me about your Thursday program.
I have no idea about what you're speaking of.
Don't you have a Thursday program?
I have a friend who has a Thursday program.
Help me out with your friend of a Thursday program.
I have a friend named Rosemont who has a Thursday program called Really But Not Really.
Okay, tell us a little bit about it.
From what I understand, it's a hip-hop and R&B show.
Uh-huh.
That's all I know about it. It's
a good show from what you've
From what I heard.
Because you put it on now.
Well, I put on a lot of things.
I know.
And, I mean, it's just a friend of mine. It's not.
Okay. Well, good. Well, there we go. Check it out at Thursdays at what time?
Tonight at 10.
Tonight at 10. Absolutely. So, folks, check in tonight at 10 o'clock. Young crowd, old crowd, every crowd. Anyhow, though, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Not influenced by the corporatocracy. Folks, please remember to go ahead and go to Facebook Live and like the page, Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies. Go find that page and like it, I ask you, because that is where you're notified. And likewise, go ahead and follow Egberto Willies on Twitter, EGBERTOWILLIES. Do you know what time it is? Do you really know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Look, for my regular everyday listeners, some of this stuff they're going to say, Egberto, you're repeating those topics again. And I said, well, it's not repeat of the topic, it's a change in it, but it's a topic that we must discuss. It's a topic that we have to get out there because, folks, we're losing time. Not only losing time, the progressive folk, most Americans, are starting to lose faith that those who the resistance wants in office, are really going to deliver, and as such, should they come out and vote for them. We have a lot of work to do. So here it comes. Title of the blog of the week. It's not Russia and Stormy Daniels. It's still the economy. Stupid. And I say stupid with in the most civil way and with the most respect possible. All right? But here we go. I watch MSNBC every day this week. The primetime lineup of Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, and Brian Williams was interchangeable. It was all Russia, with pundits speculating about the same things over and over and over again. To be clear, the Russia story and the Stormy Daniels story are important. What Trump and his band of thugs did and are doing are fundamentally marginalizing our democracy. And to investigate these, we have an independent counsel. So what do I tell all these folks that are watching this or on this daily? Leave it to the independent counsel and let them just come out with a report with a bang. And then the day they come out with that report with a bang, all the stations can jump on that bandwagon. We can all go ahead and say, this is what happened. But spend the rest of the time doing what's necessary, folks. To be clear, the Russia storm, or rather, I read that already. The cable networks that spend all of their time on these scandals may be Donald Trump's greatest assets. The networks likely caused Americans to tune out. The Hill reported the following, and here's what they said at The Hill. More than half of Americans are not aware that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election has uncovered crimes, according to a new survey from the progressive group Navigator. The poll found that 59%, that's 59% of these surveyed by the left-leaning pollsters believe Mueller has not discovered any crimes, while 41% believe that he has. Mueller's investigation has issued 17 criminal indictments and has gotten 5 guilty pleas. Those who have pleaded guilty to crimes include former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and former Trump campaign aides Richard Gates and George Papadopoulos. President Trump's former campaign chairman Paul Manafort is among those who have been indicted. The Navigator poll also found that nearly all of those surveyed have at least heard of the Mueller investigation, but 49% said they heard a lot about it, while 32% said they've heard some. 15% said they've heard a little, and just 3% said they have heard nothing about the probe. Now, hear me out, folks. If I tell you, if you turn on CNN, if you turn on MSNBC, what you find is you find all these stations saturating the airwaves with Russia, with Stormy Daniels, and more. Yet, the result is what you hear. You can say, well, people don't get their news anymore from the broadcast networks and cable networks, probably so. But all these things are replicated on the internet and elsewhere. This should tell you that it isn't something that interests people to the max. It just isn't. And what we ought to do is come out when we have something to provide to the people. Not just speculate about what you think may be happening because or whatever. We can't. We have a lot of other issues to work on. So here it is. Americans are busy. And while most know that there may be some wrongdoing, they do not necessarily see it as existential to our democracy. Neither the networks nor the Democrats tied Trump and his cabal's action to something that materially affects the average American's personal economies. It wasn't helpful when Chuck Schumer and other Democratic leaders made corruption a new campaign issue. Again, the Trump administration corruption is real, but Americans believe the government in general is corrupt. It really does not need more accentuation. HuffPost reports the following on Democrats attempting to mimic a few tactics that were successful in 2006. The Democrats' landslide year. Democrats, this is what they said. Democrats are planning to make Washington corruption a central focus of their midterm messaging. Really? Reviving a successful theme from when they took control of Congress in 2006. So what are they doing? Looking back. Looking back. Man, they're going even before Obama. They're looking back. The anti-corruption push is the second part of Democrats' A Better Deal platform. You remember when they came out with that? Lame platform, a better deal. Yes, we're going to have a better deal. How does that inspire anybody? A better deal. The first part, released last summer, focused on an economic agenda. The newest part is it. But wait, you notice what they said? The first part that they focused on was an economic agenda. Hey, folks, all you listeners out there that were to make the blue wave, do you remember the Democrats having a big, huge economic push, telling folks all the things they were going to do? Do you remember hear them saying everything specific about the giving you student loan relief? Did you remember them saying anything about, I'm saying they have that in the platform. But I don't remember seeing it saturated all over the place where that's what they were doing. At all. At all. So here we go, we're in corruption now, but the economic message hasn't been received at all. The first part, released last summer, focused on an economic agenda. The newest part is a better deal for our democracy, which puts forward proposals to increase access to the ballot box, fight special interests, and combat big money through campaign finance reform. I know Americans. I'm among Americans. I talk to real people. I'm among real people all of the times. I'm not in some sort of an office sitting down waiting for people to talk. Everywhere I go, I engage with folks just to see where their heads are. And I can tell you, the heads of the consultants who run the Democratic Party with their consultations sure haven't met too many people. And that is why we're in the dilemma we're in right now. That is why. Because they're not talking to real people. The newest part, or I said that already. Anyhow, the new initiative will center on both President Donald Trump's administration and the culture in Congress that gives access to lobbyists and corporations. Trump's cabinet, and wait, you know that's hypocritical, right? Because the establishment Democratic Party is messing with those same corporations as well. That is why the DCCC came to Houston and tried to and knocked out Moser from District 7. That is why they went to Arizona in the attempt to knock out Levi Tillerman in Arizona. That is why they attempted to knock out Liz Watson in Indiana. That is why they're trying to knock out all these real progressives out there, because these real progressives are the ones that are going to say, you know what? We're not talking about trying to appease the corporation. We're talking about real change, brothers and sisters, real change. So, Trump's cabinet officials, including Environmental Protection Agency's leader Scott Pruitt and Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, have drawn a torrent of negative headlines over allegations of unethical behavior, travel practices, and ties to special interests. The president's hotel in downtown D.C., in particular, has been the subject of several lawsuits. Continuing, that was the end of the quote. This is mine again. With the Russia and corruption scandals sucking up all the air on cable and broadcast news, there is not much time spent on bread and butter issues that affect people, poor people, and middle-class Americans. Democrats must find better ways to expose the problems directly created by the Trump administration, similar to the following. Americans will get a health insurance rate hike because of the GOP Affordable Care Act sabotage. Student loans interest rates are about to rise substantially because of a failed you know what? And the Trump administration is relaxing fuel efficiency standards on automobiles, which, if implemented, will throw more pollution into the air and increase gasoline demand and increasing already high gasoline prices. The GOP tax cut scam is poised to cause the overall interest rate to rise and the eventual collapse of the economy, similar to the 1929 Great Depression. Those are the issues that we should be telling folks. That is what the current administration is doing right. Democrats must then articulate how are they going to mitigate all the damage? How are they going to fix all the damage? And how are they going to then make your life better? And this is what they should say. And you've heard that if you've listened to the program last week. I mentioned that, and I'm going to mention this on every single program. Ready to roll off every Democrat's mouth should be: Democrats will fix the healthcare system once and for all with a single-payer Medicare for all system. Número uno. Número dos. Democrats will provide student loan relief. Número tres. Democrats will provide need-based subsidized child care for anyone who wants to work. Número cuatro. Democrats will decriminalize marijuana and treat drug use as a disease that it is. And número cinco. Democrats will make the criminal justice system live up to the justice is blind motto. All right. Every Democrat must be ready to articulate the 5 bullet points expressed in whatever form necessary in every district in America. These issues appeal to millennials, people of color, all working class people, parents, and every demographic in between. I want to stop there. Okay, there's another fight going on in the Democratic Party. We saw Stacey Evans win in Georgia. And there was this issue. There was 2 former campaigning. Stacey Adams, her campaign was, we are going to try to bring everybody into the party, and we are going to work with folks and try to change our message to sort of reach the working class whites as well, etc. Abrams was, no, we're going with a decidedly progressive message, and we're concentrating on bringing all these people out. What we really need, of course, is to really articulate, and I'm not sure that Stacey Abrams is doing that yet. I have to look at her platform, because given that the establishment supports Stacey Abrams, I am very concerned that her plans are not going to be as progressive as they are purporting to be. That is my contention, that they are not going to be as progressive, but we'll see. But whatever the case may be, right? The reality is progressive values, progressive issues reach everybody. We don't even have to talk about the white working class at all, because the white working class wants the progressive values. That distinction of the mad, upset white working class, and somehow you have to do something special to appease them, is bunk coming from, you know who? Those same analysts, those same guys that continue to lose elections. Let me tell you, I've spoken to these people that are calling the white working class, these people that are calling the racist white working class. Many of them have called into my daily show, or have spoken through the emails on the daily show. Many of them themselves, yes, some of them are racist, of course. Yes, they are. But you know what? They want the same darn thing. So the message doesn't have to change specifically where we're talking about a progressive economic message. What we do is we stick to the 5 points that I'm talking about. And why do we stick to those? Because we then don't have to really go in detail into things like, oh, they're going to use abortion to split you. Oh, they're going to use immigration to split you. Oh, they're going to use all these other things. No, let's concentrate on those issues. Anybody who's supporting these issues, or, okay, I'm sorry that Facebook is choppy. Our network here, Don has promised that within the next 9 days, our network is going to be perfect. So sorry for the choppy videos, everybody that's watching that. So, ending the blog of the week. The bullet points afford Americans a path to self-sufficiency. It frees every American from aberrations in the economy that cripples innovation. The ability for one to become an entrepreneur, and the dependency and the enslavement of the corporation. Ultimately, Americans won't kick out the corrupt Republicans on Trump's misdeeds. They will vote them out because they see Democrats with an articulated plan they believe. Ultimately, it is still the economy stupid. Ultimately, it is still the economy stupid. Don't be fooled by what you're hearing from all these statisticians and these consultants. They don't know people. They don't go and spend time with people. They don't talk to people individually. They sit down and make models, and then their biases come out, and you don't see them in. I tell you what, Don. Before we go to the phones. Houston is a community. I put a little picture on Facebook today because I saw cops come to take care of a sick woman and the officers. And Houston is a great, big, diverse city, right? But it still has its ethnic communities and whatever. Yeah. And, I've driven through and spoken and seen these areas. The party doesn't really go ahead and spend a hell of a lot of time in a whole lot of these communities. They're just mouthpieces. You don't see them doing the work. You don't see them really going out there and saying, let's engage and bring all these other people out. But anyway, let me go to Scott. Come on in, Scott.
Hi, thank you. Well, I recently bought a stove, and turns out I have to have a hood for it.
Okay.
That's government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's leading some complications and will cost more than I planned. And, you know, I can't always be in love with the government. There might be some good reason for this regulation. I think it's the city of Houston, but nobody's told me. Nobody's convinced me this is a necessary regulation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I joined Young Republicans in 1961.
Mm-hmm.
I had been raised a Republican, and I am still skeptical of government. Back then, I could have said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what your government can do to you. And I can still say that to some extent. You know, the war on drugs, this recent Texas law to recriminalize bestiality, unnecessary. I think that's big government.
Right. Well, so
and
go ahead.
Republicans, they say they want limited government, except when they want an all-powerful government. They promoted a war on drugs. They want to crack down on immigrants. That's government. They don't really want limited government, except when it benefits
you're right, Scott.
Economic elite.
Scott, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's none of these politicians. Let's be clear. It's not about big government or small government. It's about getting what you want for your constituents. Okay. Yeah, I remember acid rains, and after regulations, we cleaned that up. So no, regulations are important and they work. And when progressives force these regulations or force politicians to do these things, they happen and they have a positive result. Thank you. So, is there anything else you want to say?
Well, you're banking a Democratic victory on having government expand its role in the economy, having a Democratic Party accomplish something. How can a Democratic Party accomplish much of anything if its voters only vote when they are fired up and they don't vote in off-year elections?
You know what? You're right.
They're going to have to change.
You know, look, you are. Let me tell you something.
I have always voted. I've missed about 5 elections.
Scott.
2 or 3 in the last 50 years.
All right, Scott, I got you. Let me tell you, first of all, you're right. Democrats have to not just be voters and then expect things to be done for them. And for that to be a reality, we have to be preaching that. That's why I have a show called Politics Done Right, to try to keep people engaged in politics in different forms. And that's what a whole lot of activists are trying to do, trying to teach people that activism doesn't stop after the election. Activism is something that is continuous and should be going on all of the times. When you talk about size of government now, let me tell you something. You either have a big government or you have a big private sector. And having a big private sector means you have a lot of big corporations if it's not arranged in a whole lot of in millions of small businesses. And I can tell you from experience, having a big corporation is no different than having a big government. There's one big difference, however, and that is the spoils go to a few. When you have a huge corporation that is an effective monopoly, the spoils go to a few, and math is absolute. So math is absolute. Therefore, here is a fact that I want to state that goes without debate. If I have to provide a service, and it's a service that every American needs, my contention is the reason you don't want that service in the private sector is because part of the expense of that service is profit, which means money that goes to a shareholder. However, if it's done by government, given that it doesn't have a profit motive, even if it's not as efficient as the private sector as one would want to say, which isn't true either, but let's give you that. Even if that is not the case, your inefficiency would have to be so much larger to ensure that it beats the expense of profit plus other eventualities. That
military is not private sector. Prison industry is not private sector.
well, actually, the military is private sector.
Private prisons.
No, no,
I can't say that's genuinely private sector.
The military
They're very dependent on having criminal laws.
Right. Look, let me qualify something for people, right? It is easy, and then I'm off to let you go, my dear friend. But here, it is easy to say, oh, the military is not the private sector, or the VA is not the private sector, and all of that kind of stuff. It is run by the public sector, but the private sector has too much involvement in the military, and it has too much involvement in the VA and all these other areas. Because what happens then? Let's give you an example with Medicare. There's this stuff called Medicare, regular Medicare, and then there's Medicare Advantage, which is nothing more than the private sector saying we can administer Medicare for you. And then they try to make it look like it's more efficient, but it's not, because if the government has to give 20% more to support Medicare Advantage, that automatically tells you that that is a transfer of wealth from the public sector to the private sector, the shareholders of these businesses. But you know what? We don't have people honestly telling the truth on TV or anything or anywhere else that says, look, Medicare Advantage is really much more expensive than Medicare. And not only that, it's a transfer of wealth to a few. I got to let you go.
I don't think Democrats can do well with an unqualified faith in government. I think they should admit there are some drawbacks.
Unqualified faith.
Okay. I did a review on Amazon of the book 52 Reasons to Vote for Hillary. And I said, well, she has a good agenda, according to this book, but it's an ambitious one, and I think it would require considerable public support.
Gotta go. Gotta let you go on this one.
It all be done in 8 years.
No, it cannot be done in 8 years. But what we have to do is really change. What we have to do is really change the minds, the frame of reference, the way that we think in America. Because what happens is the Powell Manifesto did the opposite of what we want to do. The Powell Manifesto was successful. The reason a lot of Americans think the way they think is because the Powell Manifesto have lied to them to tell them how much better the private sector is. The private sector is no different. And hear me qualified. No different. The efficiencies that they try to extract is simply the efficiencies for profits. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. However, in certain areas, it's not justified. And I don't make too many absolute statements at all. That one is. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Tori. Tori, come on in.
Okay, take you off speakerphone here. Driving around on these freeways in the rain. So, first of all, just, thanks for starting off each show with the goalpost.
Thank you, sir.
The points that, the progressive agenda, with the $15 an hour and
right.
Medicare for all. I mean, that's really important, just to state where the goalposts are. Because, not everybody has those same goalposts, obviously.
Right.
And we're not winning. And we need to know objectively just where the goalposts are. And I say we, progressives. And thank you for being the only real 100% progressive talk show on KPFT. I wish, there was more like this.
Thank you so kindly, sir.
And so the 2 points, Culberson versus Fletcher. The other point is about, what the progressive, status should, or the progressive viewpoint should be on foreign policy, because, it's not stated by anybody, whether
right.
it's me or you. Nobody talks about foreign policy.
Right.
And so anyway, Culberson versus Fletcher. We lost Laura Mosier. Man, I was really hoping she was going to
pull it out.
So disappointed.
Yes.
But and thank you for talking about this stuff. But I'm not convinced that I should vote for Lizzie Fletcher, because I don't see where she comes out on any of those bullet points. Progressive on. Actual progressive position on anything that's really important.
Let me tell you, I spoke to Mosier, and I was convinced that she would be progressive. I also realized that she had grassroots seeds. In other words, she formed that particular organization that really forced people. I don't remember what's the name. It's this stuff that sent text messages and all. I mean, she showed that she was an organizer. I think she showed that she could have won that organizing. She could have won that district. As far as Fletcher is concerned, I continue to abide by my same tenet all of the times, and that is, look, putting Culberson back in, and I'm speaking now as an individual, not as a host, putting Culberson back into office is an appendage of Donald Trump. Okay, so let's assume. I think Fletcher is a progressive to some extent. Okay, she's a lawyer though, right? And we know lawyers, but she's a lawyer.
Oh, she's a liar.
Lawyer. I didn't say that. I said lawyer.
Liar.
But anyhow. So the thing about it is, I say one should always vote the most progressive person they can, both in the primaries and also in the general. And likewise, in the case of our country where we are in existential danger.
So Hitler over Satan. Okay, got it.
Yes. I don't want to put it quite that way, though. You're hurting my ears when you said that. But I get your point. Yeah. You are drastic to get your point across. So that is what it is. Anything else you want to add real quickly, sir?
Not on that point. There was a program right before yours where, for the very first time on KPFT, and it's got a pretty narrow view of the world, just like all American media.
Mm-hmm.
Even Pacifica has a fairly narrow national. It's got national blinders on it.
Right.
It's not most people don't think as internationalists.
Right.
Think outside of the box of this country.
Right.
And so, for the first time, I heard the mention of this really cool political party in exile, this Persian or Iranian political party called MEK.
Okay.
The peace group was all against the MEK because, they were on the State Department terrorist list, they were terrorists. But, they were terrorists back when the Shah was the head of Iran, and they were fighting.
But wasn't the Mossad a terrorist group too?
American-imposed government. And they're a feminist, left-wing socialist organization. They're all headed by women. They're in Paris, and they're like middle-class socialists. They're not like some
crazy folks,
super duper revolutionary group or anything.
Right.
Not like guerrillas. So I'm hoping they're the next government of Iran. And so when it seems like when the left or progressives talk about foreign policy, it's the U.S.'s position versus Iran, and they're the only two positions.
Right.
The government of Iran and the government of the U.S. And name any other.
I got to cut you off, Tori.
It's ridiculous. You should be thinking about.
Tori.
Yes.
I got your point. Let me just qualify that. If you listen to several of my shows, including some that I get the knives through my heart, as in when I had the show about Venezuela and Hugo Chavez, etc., you will see, given that I'm originally from Central America, so I understand what goes on down there.
I know. I'm talking to the people in Pacifica land right now.
I got you, brother. I got you. The reason I'm bringing that up, Oak, is because I want to validate your point. And what I want to tell folks is that what you're saying is actually what we ought to be doing, not just taking up the American, what we call the American government position. Now, I want to make an example of what I'm saying. There's a peace group out there that you just mentioned, thing about a peace group, okay? A peace group was starting to say, they agreed with the American government how bad these left-wing governments were in Venezuela. Okay, I remember the days of Carlos Andrés Pérez and other places. You never had these peace groups who said that. So you are correct in noting that even the peace groups have a tendency to lean towards absolutism of whatever the CIA or the government says, even though most of the times all they're doing is promoting the corporatocracy's rule in those particular countries. Got to let you go, Tori.
Okay.
Thank you so kindly for calling, and you keep listening, you keep calling. Okay, brother?
See you then.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Adoran, line 5. Come on in, Adoran.
This is Adam.
Adam, go ahead.
Hi, how are you doing? I heard you talk about the Mueller investigation.
Yes.
So I just had a couple of comments about that.
Please make them.
I think that's an important point that you're saying, that we need to focus on other social and economic issues.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think on the bright side, the investigation is exposing the right wing for their lack of really objectivity in the investigation's findings, because it is real, and they are finding criminal activity happening, and they're in complete denial about it.
Yeah,
And I
but
think,
you're absolutely right. Before I answer your question, I want to say that Don has an important message to all folks here. Things are in fact changing at Pacifica, where things will be quite a bit more pragmatic, practical, and the information coming out more expansive. Now, what you have to say about Robert Mueller and exposing the right wing? Here's a problem. First of all, you are absolutely right that it's good to expose that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because here's the thing. These guys don't have morals. What I mean by that is they don't care. In as much as they're inconsistent, they don't even care that you have realized that they're inconsistent because they know that their base are tunnel visioned. And if their base is tunnel visioned, it doesn't matter that we come from them from the two sides, hitting them up because they're what? Tunnel visioned. And if they're tunnel, you see what? Yeah.
But
So
I also think that really we need to grab more independent voters and mobilize some of
amen.
the Democrats and the left. Because, I mean, if the left sees that the right is going too far right with some kind of smoking gun or some kind of investigation like this, it might further motivate voters to really come out if they see that the presidency is being...
Adam, you're absolutely right. But here's what I have to answer to that, right? The match, or rather the mix that we're doing right now is not working. And how do we know that? The generic poll has tied now. And likewise, the people, in as much as we've been preaching on MSNBC and all these stations, Russia every day, 69% of people don't even know there's anything illegal that has gone on.
But here's the thing. Progressivism did not overcome the Hillary, win. Bernie could not overcome Hillary. The progressives still have now mounted a win.
You are absolutely right.
As much as I would like to see the progressives win, let's be real. When's the last time they've had a major win?
Let me explain.
In a big way.
No,
and it's not happening. I think we need something like an investigation to really shake people up.
And a part of the investigation is how we actually are able to deny. You can't. Here's and I don't have the answer to this, and we all have to find the answer to this. But if the country is progressive, meaning if you ask the questions again, and this is where mind control and the way you frame ideas and all of that come into play. If I ask a whole bunch of questions to Americans, it turns out that Americans are progressive. They're economically progressive and mostly progressive socially as well. I
would agree. It's in terms of the labels is what they get mixed up.
Exactly,
right,
but here's my concern, and I think you're bringing that up when you say, well, even with Bernie couldn't beat Hillary. Well, we know there are quite a few things that occurred as far as messaging, and that are found in some of these emails that show what went on. But beyond that, we have to be able to find a way to go out there as progressives and be
in an honest manner, is what you're saying.
Yes, unabashedly progressive.
Manner. Beat them on that front.
Right, and what happens right now is progressives temper everything they're saying because they're so scared that they're going to be called big government. They're so scared they're going to be called socialists. They're so scared they're going to be called communists.
These labels have a lot of baggage.
Right. I don't follow that now. I am honest in what I'm saying, and I just put it out there. I put it out there, and you know what I'm finding? When you put it out there, even those on the right not only respect you, but sometimes they change their opinions on particular issues. We have to stop being timid.
As far as being bold with your leftist message, that's going to pull the conversation right. Just on the flip side, as you had those Tea Partiers going all the way right, in turn pushing the conversation to the right by de facto, making the left more center, essentially.
Yes. You're absolutely right. So I got to go. My lines are filling up, and I have Johnny and Mud that I got to get to real quickly.
Hey, good show, man.
Thank you, brother. You have a great day, okay?
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to, I think MOD was before Johnny. So let me go to MOD, then you, Johnny. Okay, come on in, MOD.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
So we need to speak truth then, right?
Yes, sir.
I see you dancing around.
I don't dance around, sir.
Well, not being mean, but you got, you say the plutocracy, and then the polls are really passed the other way. I think but what do you think of Tom Perez?
Tom Perez, I think he's a lousy head of the Democratic Party. Because I think he's a part of the establishment, a part of the Clinton wing, and in so doing, they are corporatists, period.
But I mean, if now he did as the Labor Secretary, Department of Labor, right? He gave waivers to the banks as the Justice Department Attorney General Assistant. He didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin for illegally foreclosing on active duty troops.
Right.
So, but if you know these things, I mean, that's from top down. That's who chased out the DNC, chased out Moser. I mean,
and you know what, MOD, my dear brother, I hope you read my blogs and don't only listen to my show, because I blog.
I've seen some of your blogs work about. I think you just need to go to the point. You need to call them out. You're speaking in general, though.
Brother,
you need to go after them.
Brother, let me tell you something. Let me just say two things, and to all the listeners out there. I blog more than I'm on the radio. Okay, in other words, I'm on the radio 1 hour a day, but I blog several hours a day, and I put all of this in blogs in detail. If I'm coming on air to say certain things, I must temper what I'm saying, because I only have 1 hour. Okay, let me just say something that Don just found. CNN poll says 72% want progressive issues talked about, while 28% want to talk about anti-Trump. So, I mean, that's a very important poll that expresses exactly what I've been talking about for months. But MOD, what I'm trying to tell you, my brother, is this, all right? Yes, you are absolutely correct that sometimes...
You're right, Bert. I just want you to... I hear what you're saying, but I read some of your blogs, and you don't go after the top, and you can call them out. If you say you know that stuff, I think you do. I see your blogs. You don't call them out. You need to call them out somewhere.
All right.
If we see it from the top down, and
I tell you what,
you read
my blogs as well, my dear brother. When you see me not call out appropriately, just like you said I didn't call out appropriately here, you made that statement, and that's why it is y'all's show.
I say then, with that said,
yes,
is if they're reaching down to the counties or municipal levels,
yes, sir,
it's at the very top. And
yes,
this guy is, like you said, the head of the snake, but we need to go the head of the snake and start somewhere.
All right.
Right now we're dancing around.
MOD, you know what? You came on the air and did it. You came on the air and did it, okay? You just came on. So you came on the air and you did that, and you got your platform to do it. This is y'all's show. This is y'all's show, okay? All right, brother. You have a good one now. Bye-bye. Let me get to Johnny. Okay, Johnny, come on in, my brother.
MOD needs to get another Magic Jack phone. I really had a hard time understanding him. Worse than other days.
Talk to me, sir.
He contributes good content, but
yes, he does.
To get a different hamburger phone.
But John, I want to tell you something. I forgot to tell you this. You emailed me that vlog of all the list of things that you did, and you know what I did for you, my brother? I went ahead and edited some of the things in there, because you use some of the words that I'm not going to put on my blog, okay? So I edited a few.
There's no cuss words on there. I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, you know what I'm referring to. I won't say it on air right now. But
close it with Republican numbers don't lie. Republicans do.
No, not that. I kept all the substance of your stuff. But anyway, I did it as...
I'm not a hot list SOB?
No.
That you should give
Johnny!
Law enforcement training and job placement?
Johnny, let me finish, brother. Let me finish, please. Hey, your blog did darn good, man. I went ahead and I put it as a guest blog with your name on it.
Well, don't put my name on it if you're going to edit it. Just take it off.
No. Let me tell you what I edited if it's going to make you happy. You spelled Republican with a K, okay?
That's purposeful.
I know it is.
KK.
I know that's why you did it, but I didn't want to put that in, and it's your words, so your name stays on because it's your words. I love what you did, brother. Listen.
You can put my name on it and print it the way I wrote it, okay?
Hey, listen.
You talk about lawyers and liars.
Are you?
Tomato.
Did you call me a liar, Johnny?
No.
Okay.
Earlier,
all
right. We all talk about the pronunciation of liars and lawyers.
Okay. Talk to me.
There are liars among lawyers, believe it or not, duh.
You're right. Okay, talk to me. What you want to talk about today, brother?
Well, I got to agree with the sentiments you expressed at the top of your program today.
Yes, sir.
In the fifth month of Trump's regime, I got so disgusted and so demoralized that I just dropped MSNBC from my consumption totally.
Yes.
And for 3 or 4 months, I replaced it with Jethro Tull videos, Beatles videos, music, basically. I needed to heal.
Oh, man, you're great, Johnny. Hey, but let me tell you.
Tory, you know, I love you, man, but there's another guy who's fairly progressive on this program, and at the beginning of this show, he mentions his name. He's on Mondays.
Who are we talking about?
Tori made an indirect slam of one of our other hosts on KPFT, and I'm just correcting the gentleman.
Okay.
Also, there's Dean Becker.
Uh-huh.
There's George Ryder and John McNamara. There's Wally James and his crew.
Uh-huh.
There's brother Hakeem Muhammad.
Right.
Those are the ones that come off the top of my head right now. KPFT is full of excellent content. So don't be trying to slam and undermine Pacifica or KPFT by trying to give a backhanded compliment to one host. I really don't appreciate that.
Thank you, my brother. That is appreciated, sir. That is absolutely...
And one last thing. The reason I really called is...
Yes.
Was it Dan Patrick or was it the guy in the wheelchair, Abbott, who said just the other day after the high school shooting in Santa Fe, he listed abortion as one of the inputs as to why this...
No, I don't think... yeah, actually, it was him, yes.
Yeah, so he wants us to believe that we should expect to see pregnant high school girls wearing trench coats walking in and massacring people.
Right. You know what is so funny, Johnny? I just about this... you mentioned that. I almost disregard these people because what they say is generally so nonsensical that repeating it kind of hurts. You know what I mean?
And they're doing it on purpose.
Yes.
I only go to KPFT, and I can't even read Politico anymore. They disgust me, too. And Daily Kos is a mixed bag for me. I get irritated sometimes. So I stick to KPFT. I stick to The Nation magazine, and I recently discovered TYT.
Well, look.
With Cenk Uygur.
Okay, just make sure one thing. This is important. Make sure when you go to Daily Kos to tag the stories that I write, okay? Because I get a whole lot of flack because what you hear on KPFT is the way I write also at Daily Kos. In other words, I buck the establishment quite a bit. And what happens is there's a whole lot of folks from the establishment at Daily Kos, so I really get hit hard out there.
How do I tag it if I don't subscribe to Facebook and Twitter?
Just go to dailykos.com. Just go to the website.
Yeah, but I can't put a like on it because I don't subscribe to
No, you can.
platforms.
They have their own like platform on Daily Kos.
Oh, really?
Yes, they do. So check it out, dailykos.com. Okay, I got to go to another call because we're running out of time. Okay, brother?
Okay, over and out.
Thank you for calling, brother. Have a good one. All right, next call is...
It's Teresa.
Teresa, come on in, Teresa.
Hi, you wanted to talk about economics, and I just wanted to talk about two economic issues. One is, as I was block walking this weekend, I met a teacher, and I think she was Republican, and she was very concerned about her pension.
Right.
And I met another Republican, and she was willing to talk, I think, because she had recently lost her job and is now as a contractor for a major oil company, and she didn't have health care for a while. And, it's just like very sad that there's some empathy and understanding when it finally hits these people personally.
Well, that's what happens all the time. They never realize the gay issue was an issue until they realize your kid was gay. That senator from Indiana, it's always the case.
Oh, even after his child discovered his child, he wasn't very excited about it. But I just try to remind people that in 2011, a Republican-led Senate in Texas listened to a Republican comptroller who said we were headed for deficit spending.
Right, and we had a surplus. I remember that well.
And he said, we're headed for deficit spending. They cut $5.4 billion from education.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the first time that Wendy Davis filibustered.
Right.
And we got only 3.5 of it back.
Right.
I still don't think we've recovered from that. And we are, like, the powers that be, which are all conservatives, they're the ones in control, and people forget that, and people are upset. But they don't realize that the situation was kind of set up by people who are in control in precincts that are gerrymandered,
right? And
who suggest that if you don't want to carry a gun, then you're like an emasculated person or something. And, you know,
Okay, Teresa,
it's an economic issue. And when people think, oh, well, they're going to promise me to cut my taxes, but then they've cut your education, so your children don't have as good an education, that's not helping you financially.
Right, but you know, I hope when you were out there, you were able to tell those teachers, whenever you vote Republican in this state, you're voting against your pension. Whenever you vote Republican in this state, you're voting to cut the supplies for your students. Whenever you vote Republican, you're ensuring that you are an underpaid professional who has to take a second job just to survive.
Well, that's probably a better way to say it. What I said was, since the Republicans have been in power, since George W. Bush went to First thing after he was elected governor, he went to a professional teachers organization and said, well, we're going to change things. We're going to do something differently now. We're going to get into testing. And my thought is, you don't fatten sheep by counting them. You don't educate children by testing them.
Right.
We have not been treating our teachers like professionals.
Right.
Since that time, we're just not teaching. We're not treating our teachers like professionals, and I cannot imagine why any parent or any teacher would not see this and vote accordingly.
Look, Teresa, you're absolutely right about that. And the thing about it is, what we have to do is, you know, what we have been very poor at doing is equating our conservative policy with the ills that it has caused the people who vote for them. Yeah. We have not been successful in doing that, and that is what we have to do. And when I talk about we have to bring it down into language that they can understand and see, that is what we have to be able to frame. The problem is very few people are, you know, progressives a lot of times are too confoundedly high-minded. And all of us can get high-minded. What we have to be able to do is, just like I said when I just gave those 3 points. If you want your kids to have less in school, that's what the conservatives are offering. If you want to have a difficult pension, that's what conservatives are offering. And then they say, well, how are they doing that? Well, this is exactly how they cut to effect what's happening. You have to be able to talk to people on that level to say, hey, that vote means you're going to have less money in your pocket. That vote means you're going to be sicker. That vote means you're going to be... And that is what we are not very good at doing. I'm going to have to go right now.
I do want to say one more thing.
It has to be quick. I only have 10
tell
seconds.
Everybody to buy raffle tickets. Go to kpft.org or go to raffleriver.com and go to KPFT and buy raffle tickets. There's going to be a big drawing. Somebody gave us a very nice truck, and buy your raffle tickets, because Friday.
Listen to Teresa.
We're going to have a car show.
Okay, folks, I got to go.
And have a raffle.
Got to go. This is Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and let me tell you guys, we need you to go to Facebook Live and like Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies. Also go to Twitter, and please follow Egberto Willies on Twitter. It is very important that we do that. And folks, let me tell you, we have a lot that we're going to be talking about next week. Of course, you need to go ahead and go ahead.
What? I'll be here tomorrow for where Jeff Berg used to be.
Okay, bye, Jeff Berg is at 3 p.m. Don't forget, and
Jeff Berg is gone.
Not Jeff Berg. Don is going to be at 3 p.m. Please listen to that show. It is very important. He has something great for you, and I'm taking his time. I am Egberto Willies, Politics Done Right. We are out.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.